From the dating game in the 1970s to more recent shows like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, the idea of finding that special someone has been a fascination in American culture. However, the manner in which one goes about finding that special someone has changed a lot over time. As a matter of fact, to trace the history of dating is of great interest to many sociologists. Why? Because it connects with so many of the other main themes that sociology studies. There's the emphasis on culture. Culture includes technology, the physical items and the rules for using them that are within a society. Now, related to this topic of dating, this includes changes in the mode of transportation with the rise of the automobile and how that impacted dating. It also includes changes in the mode of communication, first with the telephone, and now with smartphones and computers for text and chat, and how that impacts dating patterns. But that is not the only area of culture. There are also changes in values. What is considered acceptable and unacceptable in a society, what is desirable and undesirable, good and bad, right and wrong. And then there are norms. These are the rules of conduct that are based on values. Now, again, for our topic of dating, this is going to include things such as, well, what is the acceptable amount of physical touch that should be included within a dating relationship? Now, sometimes it's a challenge to step outside of your current culture and to compare and contrast it with other cultural expressions, habits, or practice. But this is one of the things that sociologists are constantly doing. So, in this case of dating, or as it was known in the earliest form as courtship, it once was a societal value that is determined to be acceptable that a couple only hold hands, or maybe the occasional peck on the cheek. But over time, we started to see the values change, and then a simple goodnight kiss became more accepted. Later still in the history of American societal values, even if you personally think it should not be appropriate, society began to accept things such as necking, and now several decades into the sexual revolution that began in the 1970s, most of the previous norms that our society once held have broken down. Now, keep in mind, I am not saying that this is right or wrong. Remember that sociology does not address the question of how society should work, but how it actually works. So if you agree or disagree with where dating practices have ended up is really outside the realm of what sociology studies. Sociology only reports on where society and culture currently is. And it aims to give an explanation for how we got here, which could have an impact on how we come up with suggestions of getting to where we would like to be. So, in addition to the cultural changes, there also have been societal structure changes that have impacted dating. Remember, when we talk about structure, we are looking at the fundamental changes in social institutions. And if you remember from some of our previous sections, there have been two major transitions that divide the history of society into three major eras. You have the pre-industrial, the industrial, and the post-industrial. This will be very helpful to keep in mind when approaching this section. So as you read, you want to keep in mind this main idea. Dating, which has undergone many changes over time, serves important social functions for many teenagers. So as you are reading, you want to aim to answer these questions. What is the difference between dating and courtship? How did dating emerge as a form of social interaction? And what are some of the social functions of dating? How did traditional and contemporary dating patterns differ? Now, I recommend the three-column note-taking system for this section. We've looked at this process before. Remember, the first column is for your headings, subheadings, and keywords. But the twist is turn them into a question. So some of the things that you will list from this section in the left column will include: what is dating and courtship? How did dating emerge? What are the functions of dating? And what are the dating patterns that we end up seeing? Now in the middle column, you want to include summaries of all of the visual information that you see in this section. So you want to look over the courtship and dating in the United States, and you want to summarize the main points of this timeline chart as to the changes that have occurred to dating. Also, summarize in the middle column the main idea of the science of attraction side article. Now you're actually ready to begin reading the section. You have your outline of what questions to answer from the left column. You've added information from the visuals that are presented in this section. So now as you read, you want to make notes in the right column that answers the questions that you have written down. If you complete this, you will have a very good summary of the changes in dating patterns and practices among adolescents in American society.